Good morning. I'm Mark Palmer. I cover the digital asset space for BTIG. And the subject of our next virtual fireside chat is ArcadeNetwork, the world's first decentralized platform providing cross-metaverse asset operability. I am very glad to be joined by Chinka Gupta, CEO and founder of ArcadeNetwork. Chinka, welcome. Thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us.
Thank you very much. And I mean, sincerely, I'm grateful that you are liking this concept of metaverse interoperability, and you thought of calling me on the show. And rather, I think it's I'll try to keep it very productive. And yep, up to you.
Excellent. Now, Chinka, the use of NFTs within blockchain-enabled metaverse games has provided players with true ownership of in-game items, and it's creating confidence that the money spent on such items will be more than just sunk costs. With that said, there's a lot of excitement around these games because of the promise of metaverse interoperability, the ability to transfer in-game items and player identities from one virtual world to another. How does ArcadeNetwork approach the challenge of cross-metaverse asset interoperability? And what is the Arc Relayer Bridge?
All right. So Arc Relayer Bridge is basically one of the feature of ArcadeNetwork. So when we talk of ArcadeNetwork, it's not just a product or it's not just a bridge. I would say it's an ecosystem which is trying to bring in this concept of metaverse interoperability, and even boosting this concept of metaverses, and kind of helping people to realize what could be the number of possibilities that you can generate using this term metaverse. So right now, what I see today, people have got their own perspective or their own definition of metaverses. All we want to do is basically do our bit to explain that what exactly is a metaverse. And it's not just a virtual universe, but basically something which is backed by a lot of values and opportunities. And coming to Arcade Bridge, it's a relayer bridge basically, which you can, and just to further break it down, it's a set of APIs or SDKs that are pluggable. So all you need to do, I mean, if you are a metaverse and you want to talk to any other metaverse, all you need to do is plug in our APIs, and that's it. I mean, you become interoperable, your assets become interoperable, and you come to our standards, and you become, your users can actually purchase assets from you and take it or export it into any other metaverse.
Now, the graphic elements of various blockchain-enabled metaverse games can be very different from one game to the next. An in-game item such as a sword can have a very different appearance in a pixelated world versus a hyper-realistic one. How does ArcadeNetwork address that issue in enabling interoperability?
Right. So I think this is one of the most common questions which comes to everybody's mind when people think of, like how can you transport or transfer an asset from one game to another, and how about the graphics, and even what about the attributes? So I think that's what exactly is what we are trying to achieve. So in the initial phases, we are not gonna touch the graphics of the metaverses. I mean, certainly, bringing down to any, let's say, I'm just transferring an asset from Metaverse A to Metaverse B, and achieving that exact graphics of Metaverse B is something that would require a lot of efforts and a lot of research. That certainly can be done, but what we are trying to do, we are creating mappings. So basically, just to make it clear, and I don't know, I mean, I kind of have tried making it clear, a lot of times, but just to make it clear, the idea of this entire interoperability or this entire ecosystem is that you are saving gamers' cost. So if I am a gamer and I am purchasing a sword in Metaverse A, tomorrow if a new Metaverse comes up and I see, there is a different type of sword that I might need to purchase in Metaverse B, I might not want to spend my bucks again into this Metaverse. So the idea is that since you've already purchased a sword in Metaverse A, you can take that sword and export it into Metaverse B by just paying, let's say, a very minimum fee. Now, yes, when you're exporting it, the graphics might differ. So the graphics are gonna be belonging to the destination metaverse. So for example, if it's a 2D metaverse and you're taking the sword to a 3D metaverse, the graphics the sword that turns out to be which you actually have carried or which you actually have transferred is gonna be having 3D graphics because the destination metaverse is 3D. So all we are trying to do is maintaining a mapping at a core level or at an infra level, wherein we know that if this kind of asset is being exported from such metaverse, what exactly should be the mapping or what exactly should be the asset that it gets converted to into any other metaverse. So keeping it as simple as that for the first phase. But yes, later on, you really cannot mess up with the existing structure of the game. And if you're doing that, I think that is something which again, even Sony or PlayStation, these guys also tried to do something like this, and they had been trying to do something like this since ages. But I think the idea with ArcadeNetwork is why not do something which is feasible and test the concept, see if it actually turns out to be saving the entire cost of the ecosystem and adding in values. And once it does that, then certainly, we even have ideas of how a 2D can be taken to a 3D metaverse. But certainly, this is something which we are not touching up right now because we do not want it at the cost of opening up the codes or existing, structure of the metaverses. All we are doing is a plug and play thing. So you just plug in our APIs and you become interoperable. You can just literally exchange your data between other metaverses.
Now, one of the selling points of ArcadeNetwork for metaverse games is the opportunity it could create for them to generate incremental revenue. Can you explain the incentives that would be built into the Metaverse Interoperability framework and the sources of the incremental revenue opportunity?
Yep. So when we were kind of, this is like a story. When we were kind of starting this project, the only thing that mattered, or we actually tried reaching out to metaverses and games, and obviously you just cannot reach out to somebody and say that, hey, this is a product, it is cutting down costs for the gamers, why don't you use it? So obviously they should also get something, or there should be a value addition for them, a direct value addition for them, which would make them use these APIs and actually support us. So we have in place something which is called as revenue contract, which basically means that if I'm transferring an asset from metaverse A to metaverse B, a gamer basically pays a minimal inter-metaverse fee. So let's say if I purchase this sword let's say for $100 in one metaverse, and I want to transfer it to another metaverse, I pay a fee as low as, let's say, $10. Now, when I'm paying this fee to the platform, this fee is majorly divided into two parts. One part goes to as a recurring model or as a lifetime fee to the source metaverse, and the other part goes to the destination metaverse. Now, this source metaverse's part is a lifetime model, meaning that not only this source metaverse earned by selling its asset, but it is also earning every time this asset is moving among metaverses, or for that matter, if every time there is any transaction happening with this asset. That means a sword carried from metaverse A to metaverse B, metaverse A gets some fee. And now when I'm transferring to metaverse B to metaverse C, metaverse A again gets that fee. And now when I transfer it to metaverse C, to let's say I just take it out and I just sell it on a NFT marketplace, even that transaction, that trade transaction, fetches that particular set fee to the source metaverse. And the idea is that since the source metaverse is the original asset creator of that metaverse, it should be getting something in return of allowing its users to be going out and using other metaverses. So that's what we are doing. And the destination metaverse gets this one-time fee every time they accept or they open their gates for any asset which is purchased from any other metaverse to be allowed and to be used in their game.
What kind of feedback have you received from the games within the metaverse ecosystem to the incentive plan?
Well, the very direct thing, which it's like a direct thing. It's all going to be decentralized. There are already contracts in place. you see that you already have an additional lifetime earning model tied. So that's the first physical and a direct benefit for why they should be plugging in the API. So we don't say that plug in the APIs because you want to do something good for the ecosystem. Nothing like that. You might want to use this product because it is helping you raise, or it is helping you increase your business. I mean, this is the direct benefit that it gives you, this lifetime model. And the max that can happen to an NFT is that it can just keep changing hands. So even if I have the NFT, I sell it to you on any NFT marketplace, you sell it to somebody else, even that chain is kind of bringing in earnings or fees for this metaverse. So as soon as they get to know that this is something which is an additional increase in their revenue, now think of it in this way: even if they're selling 1,000 assets in one day, how much what is the compound chain that they are forming with this revenue? Other than selling their assets, which again is boosting their sale, because when you are allowing your users, when I'm a metaverse and I'm saying my users that, hey, you can purchase from me, but you have the liberty to take it to any of the other metaverse. So certainly your users build, you are giving that liberty to your users. Your users build trust in you, and certainly your sales, your asset sales are going to be increased. And the other direct model is that you're tying this additional revenue model. So we have been receiving a lot of we have been receiving good response, and that's the reason we have already partnered up with more than 50 metaverses. Although we even have some from the marketing perspective, we believe in this is kind of an ecosystem that we're building, but later on it's going to be obviously a purchase model. Like, for example, if I have to build a product and I want to use a payment gateway, all I want to do is I just go to a payment gateway site and purchase and subscribe to their APIs, purchase the service or the product, and I integrated it in my product. So that's what is it going to be in future. But considering that we are still in the early phase, we are coming up with our freemium models, with our partnership models, wherein these partners are even we are even helping them with other features of the platform. So wherein we are, the direct benefit that we can give to them is just boosting their sale, or getting the cash inflow to them. So that's what we are doing.
Now, one of the solutions proposed for enabling metaverse interoperability involves the establishment of a series of partnerships between various virtual worlds. You have noted that such an approach might not be totally inclusive, especially if some of the metaverse games simply aren't interested in partnering. How does ArcadeNetwork address that issue?
Yeah, I think it's as simple as that. If let me just give you another analogy, which is, let's say, how do banks communicate, right? So banks work on this protocol called SWIFT. Now, SWIFT is basically a set of standards. If you follow SWIFT standards, if I'm a bank and if I follow SWIFT standards, all I do is I become compatible with all other millions of banks out there in the SWIFT network, and it's up to me. I can just exchange data with any of these banks without even having to take any without even having to take any approval from these banks that, hey, do you want to partner with me? No, they are all on the same standards. I can literally send any message to these banks. So if it would have been this case that when bank A is going to bank B, that, hey, you want to be friends, and and then bank B is going to bank C, I think it's more of like a chain approach or a serial approach that would be taking place if we do not bring in a hub. So what we are a hub. We say that we have provided you this hub, come and connect to us, and you connect to all other metaverses out there. So it's as simple as that.
Now, in addition to Arc Relayer Bridge, ArcadeNetwork's roadmap includes a couple of other modules, Arc Notecase and ArcVerse. Can you shed some light on these modules for us? Yep,
and I think so this week we are even coming up with our Arc Minter. So these are like sub features, as I said, but the major one being, and we also have there are some things which are not in the roadmap, which I I think we are going to come out with them soon. We are already have kind of started our research on that. But anyways, Arc Bridge basically allows you to use the APIs to become interoperable with the metaverses. Arcverse is more of a gamer centric, or is more of a artist centric model, wherein we say that so when we see a metaverse, there are like different layers. You have, ideally, if you see, these are like game graphics, maybe built on any tool or any software out there. Could be Unity, could be Unreal, or any other for that matter. You have a blockchain layer. You have your NFTs, which are linked to these metaverses. So these are the layers which makes up a metaverse. Arcverse basically is a metaverse as a service solution, which allows you to build your metaverse without having to be knowing about all other layers, or all the nitty gritties or all the developer tools of how to build a metaverse. So Arcverse basically allows you to come, upload your assets, and then just kind of drag and drop stuff. You tell the system that, hey, this is what should happen on the click of this button, and this is how my metaverse would be looking. These are the number of users, this is the entry point, and stuff like that. And we already have deployed solutions wherein you use one of you just use one of the domain or one of the web hosting. You can purchase it from our partners. We already are in partnerships with some of these service providers, and that's it. I mean, it's more of like metaverse on the fly. You can just roll out your own metaverse and create it, and then that's up to you. How much are you extending it, or what exactly are the logics or are the things that you are adding up to in it. So that's what is Arcverse. And Arc Notecase basically is a crypto collectible plus cryptocurrency wallet, or I would say more of like a portfolio wallet, which allows you to see all the assets. So for example, let's say there are million metaverses which are using ArcadeNetwork, and so all those out of those 1 million metaverses, let's say I just could visit 100 metaverses and could purchase 100 or 150 assets from these metaverses. So all the assets that I purchased from Arc enabled metaverses, I can see all those assets under one roof using Arc Notecase. So that gives user a friendly interface to come up to our platform, see, okay, this is the list of the assets that I have purchased. This is my this is the number of Arc tokens that I'm holding, and simply just this user can click on the export button, can select the asset, can select the metaverse, and can just export it. Yep.
And you mentioned the Arc token. Can you talk a little bit about the role that the Arc token plays within the ArcadeNetwork, including staking? And what can you tell us about the tokenomics of Arc?
The tokenomics have been designed in such a way that the token utility keeps on increasing as we keep on bringing in more features. So one direct function, or one direct token utility is staking. We already had our staking window opened. The first tranche of window was open. We even received a very good response. More than 200 million tokens were staked, and we are even opening up our second tranche in somewhere in late Feb. In terms of other utilities, the tokens are going to fetch you some discounts. So if your discounts, as in like if you are a gamer, and if you are using to pay us or to pay this inter-metaverse fee using Arc tokens, instead of $10, we allow you pay $7. So there are discounts if you're using our tokens. Even there are discounts if the metaverses are paying us in our tokens. There are even loyalty models. So if you're holding our tokens, we are giving you some interest. It's almost similar to staking, but the APY obviously is going to be a bit lesser. Other than this, pretty much these are the token utilities. And then there are going to be some events which would even involve token burn to directly, to raise the value. But these are going to be properly announced official events, which would allow users to perform a certain task that would be performed only if the tokens are burned.
Now, you mentioned the fact that the network operates like Swift, and that if there are metaverse games that are not interested in partnering, that the network accounts for that. How do you see interoperability evolving within the metaverse ecosystem? Is it inevitable that we're going to have an interoperable ecosystem within the next couple of years? Do you think that there could be some resistance? How do you see that playing out?
Well, I think crypto moves fast. Not in a couple of years. Just within this year, you would see a lot of people talking about metaverse interoperability. Mm-hmm. That's what I think. And even people have started talking about it. And the thing is that when it all started somewhere last year, like the trend was more on to develop metaverses, and because if you see the kind of basically it's like a virtual universe. You're interacting in that virtual universe, and there at every step there are a lot of values that you are producing. So these users are basically earning cryptocurrency, or and it's almost like a real world. Soon I'm like there's something that I'm writing on metaverse, which is metaverse should be actually called a mindverse. So it's as far as you can think. You can just build your metaverse. There is no limitation to it. That's what I perceive it. I think when you are building these metaverses, think of it as different nations. Now these nations need the flights, okay, or need some way of connecting to each other, because when you open up the connections between different metaverses, think of it like very similar to globalization. When you open up the interconnection between different countries, that's where you increase economy of different countries, and that's where you set up this entire ecosystem of values. And certainly, I mean, it's not even what I am saying or what you believe in. It's the need of the hour. So you would be needing metaverse interoperability. That's something which would ultimately, is going to boost up the metaverse's economy. And yeah, I mean, that's what I see it as.
Now, what goals are on ArcadeNetwork's roadmap for 2022? Where do you see ArcadeNetwork 11 months from now as we get to the end of the year?
Well, I think it's going to be the main hub, or the main metaverse infra provider, or the metaverse interoperability provider by the end of 2022, for sure. It's something what Chainlink is trying to do in the DeFi world. ArcadeNetwork will be to the metaverse world. So that's what I think of it as. And I think it's certainly this is going to be the primary standard that metaverses, or the budding metaverses, would this would be becoming a necessity. I mean, if you're building a metaverse, let's say tomorrow you want to build your own metaverse, you certainly would think of providing it another additional value or advantage, and you certainly would think that why not integrate our KPIs and even open up other opportunities for my users. So yep, that's what our vision is. And this year is full of launches, full of releases, and all I can say is the team is kind of working hard on and we literally are excited. Now this is just one part of what you can see. The other part is as we are moving forward, there are even more and more opportunities or features that we are even attaching to the existing features to make it even more better, or something which is more valuable.
Well, I want to thank you very much on behalf of BTIG for a great conversation. It's a really exciting project. Thanks very much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.